Welcome to the YCNU podcast. Join us each week for engaging conversations with campus leaders, students, faculty, staff, alumni, and community members. From academics to athletics, campus life, and beyond, we cover it all. Have someone you want to hear from? Let us know. Let's explore the world of Yavapai College together.
Hello and welcome to the YCNU podcast. I'm Cadu Medina, your host for today, and I'm here with Laura Cline, English Department Chair and Writers Read Program Coordinator here at Yavapai College. Laura, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you here. Can you please give us an introduction and tell us about you and your role here at Yavapai College?
Yeah, sure. I'm English faculty here at the college. I've been here for 17 years. I started as an adjunct and then became full-time, and I've been chair now for about 5 years on and off. And I teach all kinds of English classes, composition, literature, creative writing. So all of the things that we offer in the English department. And I am also the coordinator for the Writers Read, which is a common read program here at the college. I got interested in that through, sort of wanting to be in a college-related book club. Mm-hmm. And I've been interested in common read programs as an English instructor and someone who's very interested in promoting more reading in the community. So I got involved as a member of the committee and then ended up being the coordinator.
That is awesome. Was there a program that particularly inspired you to create the Writers Read here? And just give us a little bit more details. How does it work and what's the main goal? And is it tied to our English program? Just kind of give us a bigger overview of what this program is. Sounds super interesting.
Yeah, so we've had a committee here at the college called the Respect Campaign. And actually the Writers Read program came out of that. So it wasn't English department specific. So that group had thought that, a common read would be a good way to promote belonging, a good way to sort of cross different groups of constituents at the college. So students and staff and faculty and administration, everybody could sort of participate together and have something that they could all talk about. If we had read this book, if you are meeting new people at a college function, maybe you could talk about the book. And these are pretty common types of programs at colleges. NAU has one, and I had looked at theirs, and they worked together with Coconino Community College on theirs as well. So I took a look at that, and I didn't really put together the program. So we had sort of just wanted to find a book that would be interesting to lots of different people in lots of different departments that could maybe bring them together to have a conversation. And that was really how the program started.
Nice.
And is still really kind of the purpose of the program. Our mission is sort of about sparking dialogue about issues that come up in these books and, being able to share those across the college and also with the community.
So 2 follow-up questions. What was the first book and who were the people participating in this? Is this just staff, student, faculty, or are we going outside Yavapai College community? What was the first book and who participated in that?
Yeah, so our first book was The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks by Rebecca Skloot. And I think that was in 2019, and it came out of the Respect Campaign. So they put together sort of a subcommittee that had some faculty, a dean, some staff on it to say, let's select a book that we think a lot of people would like. And that book is sort of science journalism. And so it had wide appeal across different departments. It wasn't, we didn't want it to be like an English department project. Right, we really wanted it to be something that could appeal to a lot of different people. And so that book, we were going to have Rebecca Skloot come and talk with us, and then COVID happened.
Oh, no.
So yes. She ended up having a Zoom presentation, and some of the momentum that we had with the program was sort of stopped by everybody going online. but she came and she did a wonderful presentation about her process and about science writing. And she was just wonderful. And it was so exciting to be able to have a big name author like her come and talk specifically to the Yavapai College community.
Right.
So we made this a committee. Right now, the committee that selects the books has faculty, so me, and then 2 other colleagues, one from the math department and one from humanities, and then an associate dean, a representative from Ollie. The community ed program and Ollie have been a big part of our program, and a staff member. And we have had students in the past. We don't currently have a student rep right now, but sometimes we do. And we have actually offered a class in coordination with the Writers Read in the past. So our college honors program students, our students of leadership get involved with the book as well. And we select the book each year, that committee of the mixed committee of different college entities. But we do also want to reach out to the community to come to our events and also, to get involved in reading the book.
So, and then once the book is selected, what goes on behind the scenes there to sort of create a conversation about that book, right? How do we engage with people that are participating in that? And do you have like meetings? You mentioned to me earlier today that we use an app to sort of kind of mitigate all of that, conversation. And is it like a Q&A type of thing? And someone is moderating the conversation? How does it work?
Yeah, so we have several different goals for the program. One is to get students involved. So the first thing, we try to kind of reach out to see if there's any faculty who would be interested in using the book or parts of the book in their courses. So we try to do that. Often that's the English department that participates in that, our student success courses. We've done courses specific to the book. We've also had, people use chapters across the curriculum from out of that book to start that conversation. And then we try to reach out to other groups. We encourage, any group on campus who wants to start just a reading group around the book to do that. So in your department, with your group of coworkers, if your staff, with a student group or a student club, all of those things we encourage and are definitely happy to support. We've gone to Seoul to do presentations. I've led groups with Ollie. So just trying to get everybody within their own, faculty group. And then we've also planned events that have, people come together to talk about issues in the book that are of interest to them. So with our first book, because there were lots of different issues, we have a sociology-focused discussion group led by a sociology faculty. We had a science or a medical ethics-focused discussion group led by some faculty from philosophy and nursing. So we've done things like that and are really excited to do those kinds of discussion groups across the campus.
And were these live events or sometimes Zoom events? I know that during COVID, probably you could only do, Zoom, in which, I don't know, that might even have been a good thing, because during COVID, what else do you have to do besides, get into books and some other groups and all that? So hopefully that kind of was helpful. But anyway, so these are mostly live meetings, in-person meetings, and in some Zoom meetings?
Yeah, we've done live meetings. Our last year's book was a collection of essays called Disability Visibility, edited by Alice Wong. And for that, we did a panel of students talking about accommodation and accessibility. And that was a Zoom lunch and learn type event. Wow, so, cool. We've done different things. We're always open to trying all the different things just to start the conversation across the campus.
Yeah, that's amazing. Tell me, what qualifies a book here to be part or to be selected for the writer's read. Can you share an example of a particularly impactful choice? I know you kind of mentioned one or two there, but is there one in special here that you feel like, okay, this was a great choice for that group? And again, what qualifies a book to be considered for the group?
Yeah, so we actually take recommendations from anyone who is interested in proposing a book. Usually I'll send out a message to the college community, but the wider community is also welcome to participate.
Right.
Asking for recommendations. And there's a form on our website that gets filled out. What is the book? Why do you think it would be a good choice? Mm-hmm. And then our committee will take a look at all of those and sort of narrow it down based on, different qualifications. We try to go back and forth between fiction and nonfiction. So This year, for example, our book is called Fit for the Gods, and it's a collection of Greek myth retellings. So that is fiction. Right. So next year will be a nonfiction year. So we try to go back and forth, but we keep all of the recommendations so we can sort of bring them out again. If it wasn't a fiction year, but there was a really good one, we'll put it on the docket maybe for the next year. And our committee meets and we try to see that we're balancing different issues that could be of interest to the college community. So we try not to have too many books that are similar. We want to spark different discussions every time. And then we also take other more, practical things into concern. Is it, 1,000 pages long? Well, we might not want to read a 1,000-page long book. Is it widely available? Would it be easy for us to get, through our library and get copies for members of the community? And then we also consider whether or not we would be able to have the author come and do an event with us. So having the author come and do an event has been a big part of our program so far. We've had every one of our authors do an event with us. Like I said, the first few were virtual because of COVID, but we have also had some in-person ones. And we always want to make sure that is feasible for us to do either Zoom or in person, to be able to have a conversation with that author and have an event surrounding that. So those are the main things we look at.
Do we suggest themes? Does the committee kind of come up with some themes, at least to kind of create a little guideline there for when you're taking book suggestions, or it's like open? Well, it could be
pretty
anything.
Wide open, although a theme isn't a bad idea, because we do usually end up selecting a theme. I write a guide. It's kind of like a book club guide every year to go along with the book that I usually send out to faculty and staff who may be interested in using it in class, where I go through and do chapter summaries and questions and then related activities or materials for the book. So I usually select a theme for that. So for example, this year's theme is myth to go along with our Greek mythology. What are myths? What do they mean? And then I'll have a faculty member, usually sometimes a staff member. Last year, I had someone from Disability Resources write the intro to the guide. And this year, we had our mythology professor write the intro to the guide. So we try to get, people from across the campus involved. Right. Our selection of disability visibility, when we read that book, we just thought, we had never really read anything like it before, the members of the committee. It brought up a lot of issues that I think are just, super important on a college campus, but that none of us, even as, faculty and staff, like we had thought about accessibility. We had thought about all those things before, but to see a collection of personal stories specifically about that seemed like something really unique. So we selected that because it just was very different from what we had selected in the past.
Well, that's awesome. Well, like any other type of club or membership program that you are asking, people to be part of and be committed to and participate, I'm sure there's challenges in keeping everyone motivated and engaged with the program. How do you encourage participation across such a diverse, campus community and topics and themes and all that? What are some of the things that you're able to do to really kind of keep people engaged with the program?
Yeah, you mentioned earlier we're trying to get the Fable app, which is just a general book club app. People may be familiar with it just from other book clubs they're in,
right?
Either personally or, it has like a larger platform where you can join celebrity book clubs, like that kind of thing. Yeah. But we are trying to get more engagement with that, with people being able to use that app and access the book. And, we just try to get out there and advertise that, we're available to come and help facilitate your book club as, sort of a fun thing to do. And the events are also fun. And I think sometimes people and students feel like, oh, I don't know if I can go to a literary reading. I haven't read the book yet. I've never done something like that before. But, I really want to encourage people that you don't have to have had to read the book to come to the literary reading. And sometimes it'll spark interest in picking up the book after you come, because they're really just conversations like a podcast with the authors. We sit down and talk about the things that interest them, why they wrote or edited the book. We usually have, if it's not on Zoom, if it's in person, sometimes we have music and food, and they're really meant to be sort of fun community events. Right. Whether or not that results in picking up the book, we hope obviously that it will, and getting involved with the program, but they're not stuffy and formal and intimidating events that I think some people think when you say, come to this literary reading. They're actually quite fun. So,
there's no grading, right? It's not like they're getting a grade for it or, just going to
sometimes
fail.
They get extra credit, but sometimes their instructor will give extra credit, but no, but it's not, it's not graded. It's meant to be fun. And we have tried to also have some other student-focused fun events. We show movies sometimes in the community room. We showed Thor this year in coordination with mythology. And then in the past, we showed, I think, Coraline out on the lawn. So we try to do some more just fun events that are related to our curriculum.
That's really good. And it helps, I think, just to really keep that topic fresh in your head. Sometimes you're sign up for something like this. Like, for example, I'm really used to using my book app on my phone, and I prefer nowadays to listen to books versus reading the book. And for a couple of reasons. One, I'm more audible anyways. That's how I process that information better, and I'm able to stick with the book like longer and just have deeper thoughts about it. If I'm reading, that doesn't quite happen for me. But if I'm listening to it, I'm really connected to that book. And also, the app kind of reminds me and keeps track of how much I read this week or today and tomorrow. It helps me set goals so that I don't put the book down and don't remember, oh yeah, that's right, I was reading that book and I forgot. It reminds me, it's like, hey, you haven't picked up the book, in the last couple of days. And believe it or not, that stuff helps. And I also get the rewards every now and then. The book will tell me, or the app will tell me, you read, for 3 hours this week. Good job. It creates like challenges. And these challenges sometimes, they're good tools to keep me engaged with that activity there. And in that sense, like, that's what I was asking, do we have things like this to keep people coming back, to keep them engaged so they don't forget, oh yeah, I'm part of that club.
Yes. Yeah. So the app does have some stuff like that. I like that gamification kind of stuff too. Right. Like, it's telling me that I need to do a little bit more of this. And you mentioned audiobooks for people who want to listen to it. Our library does always through the Libby app, which is an awesome app that is available through our library to get audiobooks and ebooks. Mm-hmm. So we always have copies available of our Writers Read books for people to listen to through the Libby app.
Right. That's perfect. So, it certainly makes it more accessible to everyone, right?
Yeah. I know a lot of people love to listen to audiobooks while they're doing their chores and driving to work and all of that stuff.
That's me. That's me from, when I wake up in the morning until I go to bed. If I have 10, 15, 20 minutes of not being busy with anything, that's in my ear. The story is back in my ear, and I just kind of use my time that way. And it's very relaxing too. Yeah. Well, can you share a story here with us of how Writers Read has sparked meaningful dialogue or, created changed perspectives on campus? Just maybe there's a story or two here of how you saw our goal behind this program really kind of reveal itself, pay off. Can you tell us any good stories that you may have come across here?
Yeah, I definitely think that getting the students together for that panel around disability visibility was a really powerful thing. And I heard from several members of the community afterwards, of the college community, saying, I'm so glad you did that. I was, hearing these things from students was really meaningful, and it really meant a lot that people are paying attention to these issues that affect our students and the kinds of things that they need in the classroom or that will help them. And so that was really great. It was really great to be able to do that and have those types of discussions. And I use the book every year in my classes, so I get feedback from my students. They do a reading journal that is related to the book. And that book, Disability Visibility, really had a lot of powerful responses come from the students. Another book that did that was Tara Westover's Educated, which is a memoir about an experience in education from Tara Westover, who grew up in a really isolated community, didn't really have access to going to school, to regular school. And she ended up going to university, to BYU, and then on to, I believe, Harvard eventually, to get her graduate degree, and then wrote this memoir about her experience of education. And I think that book was very powerful as well. And being able to have an event, a conversation with her, was really awesome. So a lot of the authors that we're able to bring in for this program are people that are very well known. And I just think it's so awesome to be able to have them here at Yavapai College talking about, not only their books, but their process as writers and all of that stuff that goes along with that. Rebecca Sloot, the first book we chose, has such an interesting process of writing. She is a really amazing researcher. Because she's a journalist and she was writing about these very scientific topics. And although she has some background in science, it was really all about all of the collecting she did. And there's a movie of her book. I think Oprah was involved in the making of it. And it really chronicles how much she got involved with this family that she was writing about. And it's just very cool. It's very cool to learn about how people get involved in writing these books that end up being these huge bestsellers. And I think that's really inspiring for some of our student and community writers as well, to be able to have these conversations with them.
Yeah, not just English students, but also anyone from any other program, because you have to write essays and projects all the time. And I think that process of researching and collecting information and how you gather your thoughts and structure that in a way that can be presented to whoever you work with, or that's applicable to everyone, right? I love hearing about writers' processes because it absolutely applies to what I do and the projects that I have to deliver that are not necessarily a book, but they are a story. And eventually they will become a story, and that story needs to be told in the best way possible. But the collecting of the information, how do I gather all that information? How do I structure it in a way that can relate to people, that can communicate a certain aspect of that project to someone? That is absolutely, it comes from everywhere, but especially how writers kind of go about it, because they get to think about that a lot.
Yeah, and we've had the opportunity with this program. Some of our authors that we have will do student-specific workshops or student-specific conversations.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a writer of a fiction book called There, and his name is Tommy Orange, and he is just super relatable, and he did a student-specific event, and I had a bunch of students go for extra credit who came back and just said, man, he was such a cool guy. Like, I didn't think that, going to this event with the writer was going to be so cool, but it was really awesome to hear from him. We have an upcoming event in a couple of weeks where one of the writers from Fit for the Gods is going to come and do an actual writing workshop with some of our students. So they will be able to practice writing specific skills. So we have opportunities like that with our authors as well.
Perfect. I might have missed this. I'm sure that you mentioned it, but do we pick one book a year?
We pick one book a year. Yep.
So two semesters there.
Yep, 2 semesters. So the process is we usually, we just had our meeting to pick our upcoming book for next year. So we usually try to pick it right around the new year. So we read our selections. The committee usually narrows it down to 4 or 5 books before we go on break, and then we spend our break reading all of the possibilities.
Nice.
So being on the committee, you got to love to read. You want to spend your Christmas break reading, but then we come out with what the new book for the next year is going to be and start getting our plans set for events and author readings and things like that.
Well, I have a question for you here. I know the book is kind of selected and considered in committee, and there's voting, so there's popular vote involved and all that. But I want to know if you could choose any book for a future writer's read, what would it be and why?
Oh man, that's so hard.
Your book, your choice. If you had that power to say, you know what, I'm the one choosing this book this time. What would it be?
I get to choose books for people to read all the time as an English teacher, but I think, one of the most powerful books that I teach regularly is The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien, which is just an incredible book, not just about his experience as a soldier in the Vietnam War, but also about storytelling in general, about what it means for things to be true, what it means to tell a true story about anything. And it's just this gorgeous collection of linked short stories that I think is incredibly powerful and everyone should read. So I would probably choose that if, I had no constraints on what I could pick.
What is the name of the book again, and who is it by?
It's called The Things They Carried, and it's by Tim O'Brien.
Okay, that's on my list for my next read. Thank you.
Yeah.
You got a member on your club. I'm definitely going to read this one next. I appreciate that.
Yeah. But I learned about a lot of great new books for this program as well. Like, I spent my Christmas break reading a bunch of things that I don't know that I would have picked up on my own, especially because it's a nonfiction year. And I've got nothing against nonfiction. I read nonfiction, but it's just not as much in my world all the time as fiction is. So I definitely got to pick up a lot of interesting books and learn about new things. And because of my role, I get books from publishers, that I would not have thought to pick
Consider,
up. So I learn, new things all of the time by being a part of this program.
Wonderful. Well, so what's next for the program? And, what advice would you give to others trying to start something similar around here or in their own communities, since you've had all this experience? And you literally kind of designed the program here. So, what is next for our program, and how do we put a book club like that together? That sounds awesome.
Everybody should put a book club together. I didn't start this program, but I have been working on it for a long time.
Right.
I think, for our program, we're always just trying to reach new groups who haven't participated with us before. Like I said, anybody can contact me with a group of people that they want to have a book club, and if they want somebody to come help facilitate it, I can do that. or, they can facilitate it themselves and just enjoy our book.
And you're referring to like internal groups here in the Yavapai College community, or even outside the Yavapai College?
Yeah, even outside the Yavapai College community. We've been reaching out a little bit more to Prescott College to hope that they will maybe get involved a little bit with our program, and to Peregrine Bookstore. Just, sort of reaching out to other bookish communities to see if they would like to participate in some of our events with us. So, yeah, we're definitely always trying to do outreach. And, yeah, we've got a new book. So our book for next year is a graphic novel. It's called Diaries of War, and it's by Nora Krug, and it is a series of letters that the author had correspondence with for the first year of the conflict in Ukraine, with two people she knows, one who is Ukrainian and one who is Russian. And it's really fascinating and beautiful, and also the first time that we've had a graphic novel, which is something that we've been trying to incorporate into our program for a while.
Super cool. How do people learn more about the program and find out, what the current book is or next book, and how do they sign up to kind of be part of this community? Just give us a little bit of the homework here for everyone that's listening to this right now and just thinks that, I want to be part of that.
Yeah. So if you're part of the college community, especially staff or faculty, just make sure to read those news flashes.
Right.
Because I send a lot of information about our program and our events out via those mass emails. Students should, their instructors often give opportunities to get involved with the program. But we also have a website just on the regular YC website. If you just search for Riders, RIDERS, read, on the Yavapai College website, that's where you'll find all of our information about our current book and current events. And you can also link to that form if you want to make a suggestion for a book for us to read in the future. And we also partner with the Literary Southwest program, which is another program you can just, type into that search bar on the YC website. And some of our events will be up on that site, like our current one that's coming up, and then looking to the future. Once we have something planned with next year's author, it will be up on that site as well.
Perfect. Yeah. And I did go to the website here and just typed there Writers Read, and the page came up like immediately. So super easy to find. Well, Laura, thank you so very much. I really enjoyed this conversation, learned a lot about it, got a book recommendation here for my next listening, because I don't read, as you already know, but it's on my queue here for my next book. Anything else you want to leave us with? Any kind of leave behinds or any types of events that you want to point us out to, or any final thoughts?
Just feel free to contact me if you have ideas for ways to get involved in this program. My email is right at the bottom of that Writers Read website, and I would love to hear from you.
Well, that's wonderful. Laura, I really appreciate. Thanks for your time, and to make time here to talk to us about the Writers Read and everything that you've been doing there. I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to the YCNU podcast. We hope you enjoyed our conversation today. Don't forget to follow and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Got someone in mind for our next chat? Reach out and let us know. Until next time, keep exploring, and we'll see you next week.